Welcome to another episode of A Candid Conversation with Adam Lopez. I am your host, Adam. And today, we're going to talk about something very important, which is case management and case management done the right way. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Mollie Kallen, all the way from Boca Raton, Florida. Mollie, welcome to the program.
Hey, Adam, how are you? Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm going to start off by laughing, Mollie, because we've been trying to do this for a while. And
Yes, we have.
technology has not been our best friend as of late, right? And this morning wasn't the exception. But you know what? Let's make it a great day. Let's make it fun. Mollie, it's a pleasure having you on. You know, we've been following each other through LinkedIn. We have mutual connection, mutual friends, colleagues, and you're just a person that I admire. I appreciate everything you do, just how supportive you are of everybody in the industry. And not to mention that you have an amazing firm and you have employees who I've worked for before. So there's a lot we have in common, and I'm excited to speak to you this morning. Let me start off by this. How is the weather right now in Boca Raton, Florida?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you thank you. And I'm an admirer of yours. It's a mutual admiration society. You're all over LinkedIn. I don't know where you find time to do what you do and have a personal life and a work life. So congratulations to you and what you've done. And I want my mug. I'm very excited about getting a mug because it's a very coveted item now in our industry. Adam, I'm letting you know. So practicing that.
It really is. You'd be surprised that it's not even a joke. I get a lot of inquiries about that mug, and absolutely, you're going to get yours delivered in
Yeah.
person, hopefully soon. But I
Thank
think,
you. Hoping to see you.
and
Yeah.
thank,
So
thank
what
you.
weather in Boca, I'm not going to complain, but every time I talk to customers, one of my marketing managers says he had to wear socks this morning. He lives in Tampa. So, we don't rub it in. I'm growing up from the Midwest. So I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, and then I lived in Chicago of all places. So I definitely got my winter. But
Mm.
I moved down here like in 1993, right after Hurricane Andrew. And I remember actually doing case management, Adam, down here, and there were no street signs. Everything was gone from the hurricane. And this was before GPS, right? So I lived my life with my map in my car.
Yeah.
I try to tell my 13-year-old about maps, and he's like, "What's a map? Why do you need it?" Just like we passed by a telephone booth, right? There actually is still in existence. We passed
Yeah.
by one, and my son goes, "What is that for?" And I went, "That's a telephone booth. Mommy had to make phone calls." And I said, "Grandma would give me a quarter if I needed to." And he's like looking at me like, "Why would you need to do that? You have a cell phone." Just like he didn't understand what a remote control was. For a TV, he goes, "You mean you had to get up and change the channel?" And I went, "Oh yeah, I was the remote control. Mollie, turn the channel." So
Yeah.
it's a whole world in progress. But yeah, I live in South
Wow.
Florida. I love it. But I do a lot of travel. Like we mentioned before we got on the call, I'm going to be going out to California for some conferences. And really, I'm a very lucky person, even with all this COVID and stuff. And you mentioned all these accomplishments. It takes a village, as you know. And I have an amazing group of people working with me. So I'm very blessed.
Molly, that is amazing. There's so much to talk about. I want to address and discuss many different things with you, specifically in the industry. But it's also good for our listeners and our viewers to learn from you who you are, where you're at. I was mentioning before we came online that my former boss, Kevin Sandlin, he lives in Boca Raton and always talks about that place. And I'm thinking, where's Boca Raton? Where's Florida? And you're there, so now I know that it's a very special place. So hopefully I
Oh,
can visit one day. And that's amazing. We have you on the program. But I want to just mention and let our viewers know that you're not only the CEO and president of MKCM, but it's a national and international case management firm. Is that correct?
yes, it is. And it's funny, the story. I mean, I could just touch on it a little bit briefly for you.
Absolutely.
I
Go ahead.
started, yeah, I mean, I have a passion for what I do, as so many people in the industry. And I started case management from an ad in the newspaper. I didn't even know what a case
Wow.
manager was. Yeah. And I was doing, my background was career counseling, was psychology. I was doing counseling with injured workers. And that's kind of what led me. And then I saw this ad from a company called Intracor. And they were the first workers' comp case management company that ever existed. They were absorbed later by Gen X.
Hmm.
But I started working with them in Ohio, and I just loved case management. And I never really knew what it was. And that's one of the big stumbling blocks with my industry, is that people don't really know a lot about case management. It's kind of like on the fringes there. People understand DMEs, they understand home health because, it's pretty
Yeah.
self-explanatory. But even to this day, when, my case managers are going out to appointments, people think they're attorneys, people think they're pharmaceutical reps. And I don't think we're doing a good enough job talking about what we do and to other people in the industry and encouraging people to come in the industry and retaining them. So I started with with Intracor. That was my first case management job. I was
Yeah.
there 4 years. And then I was with Corvell for 13 years down here in South Florida. And then 1 year with Gen X. And then I started my company about 14 years ago. And it wasn't going to be a big company. It was just going to be me.
Yeah.
It wasn't like some master plan that I had. And in fact, people asked me to supervise case managers back in the day. And I went, there's no way I'm ever going to supervise
Yeah.
case managers. They are an interesting breed, no way. And here I am. We have 500 case managers across the country. We do some international work too.
Wow.
It just is a huge passion that grew organically.
Right. And to think that it was all done because you saw an ad on a newspaper, right? It's amazing when to know the backstory or the what ignites the passion or how individuals get started. This is amazing, Molly. And I always say this: we see so many profiles, we see so many people, we see successful businesses on LinkedIn, social media, all over the place, but we don't even know how I got started. And this is amazing to hear, what planted the seed or what fueled the passion. And look at you now. I want to just be myself. Now you have an entire organization under you, right? And it's because, and this is why I say, you say something very important. I say the same thing. Whatever we do in life, whether it's business, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's starting an organization, nonprofit, let it grow organically. Do not force it. When it goes organically, that's when you know that the success comes by default. It just grows by itself. When you force something, sometimes you hit brick walls. Sometimes it goes to the sideways. So congratulations to you, Molly. That this is an amazing story, and I'm glad you're sharing it. And another thing you said, very important, because it's not by coincidence that your website, when you go in, the very first thing you see is case management done the right way. Because I'm sure that you have seen, and it still happens today, that it's not done the right way, or it's misrepresented, or they think they're, nurse triage, or they think they're pharmaceutical companies, or whatever the case may be, right? So case management done the right way. Share a little bit, Molly. What's behind that mantra, that phrase?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I've been doing this for a long time, 30 years. Adam, I started when I was 5. Like everybody in this industry.
Yeah.
If you buy that one, there you go.
Yep.
But anyway, what that means is, again, it kind of goes back to the genesis of my company. I wanted to do things differently. I learned and I saw, and I was brought up and I learned a lot from all the big companies. I got the positives, but I also got the negatives, the things that I didn't want to replicate. So the things that I did want to replicate was customer service. I didn't want to be cookie cutter. I wanted to be very boutique-like. I don't want to overbill. I want to make sure I'm being authentic. I want to make sure I'm being transparent. I want to take responsibility for what we do. I want to give ROI to our customers, because case management's not cheap. So I don't believe in staying on files a long time. And those are some of the things that they did in the other companies. They incentivized case managers to bill. They would say, hey, bill more than 40 hours a week and I'm going to give you a big bonus. Well, we don't do that. So I kind of took the positives and did away with the negatives, and then decided to do that. And that's why we're different. Our QA, our quality assurance, is so different. We are so detail oriented. We do like a company calendar for every milestone on every case, right? And from your background, that's so labor intensive. Why would you do that? Well, that's because that's quality, because in most companies, they don't know there's a problem until the problem's happened, Adam. And I'm about proactive versus reactive. When a case is going down the tubes, or when a case isn't moving a direction. I want to be in front of it. And another way to do that, which makes us different, is that we're really big about round tabling. I think we've lost the art of phone calling in our business, and lots of business too. And emails are great. Don't get me wrong. We love them. It's off our plate. You get it done. But especially in our business, one, if a case isn't litigated now, it has a good chance of being litigated later, and everything's discoverable. I only use veteran case managers. That's a huge difference, because I want them to know what goes in writing and what's a phone call. We task all our case managers to call. Why? Because there might be things that you want to tell us that you don't want to put in writing. Conversely, if we're at a doctor's appointment and the doctor kind of rolls his eyes, that's really important information, but that should not be in an email. And the last thing is round tabling. So when a case isn't moving in a direction, or if it's kind of stuck, then we need to get all the stakeholders on a call, not an email, on a call, and do a 15-minute call and say, okay, what's the direction? Are we all unified? What do we need to do to make this case move forward? And those are some of the real important things that I think we do really well at compared, to the other companies.
Oh my gosh. I think we need to have like a couple of series of episodes regarding this topic and discussion because there's a lot to talk about. And I can see your passion. I can see your genuine care for your clients as you speak, Mollie. And you've mentioned something that it resonates with a lot of people, not only in case management, but in the industry, which is ROI. And I think that's huge. When you start looking at the return of investment, you want to make sure that your clients see the value, that they see the benefit, right? Because you're right, it's a lot of money. It's not cheap. It's costly, but it's cost effective when you have ROI and you can see the tangible results. And I think that's what separates you and your firm, because you explained it very eloquently. And that is so important, Mollie, in everything that we do, the ROI, because that translates to, trust me, have faith in me. I'm looking out for you. It's not just about making a money. I want you to see, the return on investment, not only on your efforts, but your trust.
Yeah, and it's also leads to transparency, right, Adam? I mean, nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. I always tell this to people, there's going to be mistakes made. We're dealing with people, but we'll be transparent and we'll take ownership. If we do something wrong, we're going to learn from it and then own it. And the one other thing I forgot to mention too is we're very injured worker client focused, meaning I think we've lost the sight of what we need to keep on. It's the injured worker. We're helping people who are extremely vulnerable. They don't know what's going on. They're injured, they're suffering. Some of them are catastrophic, even non-catastrophic. And our job is to not treat them as a number, not treat them as a claim, to remember they're people, to look at them holistically. And when you start to do those kinds of things, all the other stuff falls into line, the ROI, the value, the cost. Because if you're not getting that trust with the injured worker, if they're not feeling empowered, if they're not educated about what's going on with them at this time, then everything goes to the wind. So that's really important to me too.
Oh man, we're receiving a lot of golden nuggets from Mollie this morning, and we're speaking with Mollie Kallen she's the CEO and president of MKCM. It's an national and international case management firm. Not only that, but it's claim solution, insurance. She's a speaker at MKCM, a speaker at many conferences. Mollie, I look forward to seeing you in person, greeting you, spending time with you, picking your brain. I just think it's amazing. I just by talking to you these a couple of minutes, I feel that I've learned a lot from you, and you have a lot to share. So keep doing this, because a lot of people need to hear you. A lot of individuals need to hear about case management done the right way. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking to Mollie Kallen. If anybody wants to get a hold of Mollie, here's the email address, and it's going to be down on your screen. It's Mollie, MOLLIE, MOLLIE at mkcminc.com. And a phone number to call, it's area code 954-347-5016. And also the website is www.mkcminc.com. It will all be on the bottom of your screen for you to take a look and get a hold of Mollie, her firm, to get more information of this amazing firm and all the great things that they are doing. So Mollie, a lot to talk about, but on your website, I also saw 4 main areas. It could be your mission, it can be your mantra, you tell us, but I see communication, action, reliability, and transparency. Why do those 4 areas stand out for you? What do they mean for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about transparency. That's being open and upfront and not hiding anything. We just developed a dashboard. So our customers are going to be able to log in real time and see numbers and data. We have nothing to hide. So there's no reason why our customers shouldn't be able to see that information on an as-needed basis. So transparency is really important. Value, making sure that our customers have value in what they're doing and giving to us. As I mentioned, case management is not cheap. I want to make sure that they're getting good ROI, that we're moving files in a good direction while still maintaining that holistic approach of working with injured workers. And one thing I wanted to add too, Adam, was I started this group called Legacy. And you'll be starting to see it on LinkedIn, because I thought to myself, what kind of legacy do I want to leave in the industry when it's my time? Not that I'm going anywhere anytime soon,
Yeah.
but when it's my time. And I thought about a way to raise people up in the
Mm,
industry who are not normally recognized. You know, we all see, and you and I are part of it. We're out there on LinkedIn, people
yeah.
know us, people see us, but there's a lot of people in our industry that aren't getting the recognition that they need to get. And I
Wow.
want to do something to elevate those people, to recognize them, and also to try to funnel them into different types of organizations of volunteer to kind of give back to the industry. So that's a real important issue for me as well. I wanted to bring up.
Well, so there we heard it straight from Molly. She wants to leave her footprint in the industry and make sure she elevates other individuals, make them successful. And, this is why I appreciate individuals like you, Molly. And there's a handful that are my part of my circle, is the genuine care to want to elevate others and see others grow and see others succeed, and pave the way, give them a pathway to success in their own journeys. And that's why I see from you and I appreciate from you of the genuine care that you just showed to want to do good and do good for others and your clients. So it's very rare nowadays. And I say that because just like you and myself, we meet so many people, entrepreneurs, owners, and there's not too much transparency and it's just for the dollar. There's not much care for the employees or for the clients. So
Yeah.
kudos to you and commendation to you for being that rare breed, Molly, that cares for the clients and wants to do good for them. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that. You know, the industry's given so much to all of us, you
Yeah.
know, not just financially, but support wise, emotionally, mentor. I believe in mentorship. That's very important too, that, you know, we need to keep in mind the people who are coming up behind us. And, you know, why reinvent the wheel? Give them opportunity to learn from the things that we've learned, our mistakes and our successes. So I find that it's really important. I think diversity in our industry right now, there was a big DEI breakout at
Mm.
WCI conference. I'm a strong supporter of all of that. There's so many great causes out there, but I really believe it's important to do things that don't have financial gain, because that makes you a whole person,
Mm.
and that's your way of giving back and paying it forward. So it's really important to me.
That is amazing. So now a segue into our next topic of discussion, which is obviously case management. It's not one size fits all, but it's you can apply the same concepts, right? However, what I'm trying to say is that you're located in Florida, East Coast. You have marketing directors and case managers on the West Coast. Explain the difference, the disparities, or explain the inconsistencies having to deal with East Coast and West Coast, because we know, and I always say this. California should be its own country. California is
This is
crazy.
true. I'm glad you said it.
California, I feel that California has a group of like 5 scientists or specialists that sit in a room and say, okay, today let's come up with rules to just make it impossible for any
Yep.
organization to function. Let's come up with the regulations and let's come up with a whole different regulatory compliance unit that's going to go out there and just ding them with fines. And it's crazy, but
Yeah.
enough about that. Tell us a little bit of the difference between East Coast and West Coast.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you said that. I've always said that it should not only be its own country, but 2 separate countries, Northern California and Southern California, right there.
Oh, okay, there you
Just
go.
like Florida, but we're right there with you,
Right?
because
Yeah.
Northern Florida and Southern Florida, and then you've got the coast. So we're national. We're everywhere in between. We have about 500 people. So not just the coastal areas, but they are very different. And one thing you have to be aware of, one is the laws legally.
Okay.
What case managers can and can't do, and those laws change by state.
Yeah.
And so we're very aware of that, and we have a director of case management who's very involved with that in my company that tracks that. Not only that, but those laws are changing constantly.
Of
Then you
course.
had COVID layered on top of everything, right? So that really just changed things. But, you know, the case managers, it's funny that you mentioned the regional. Absolutely. You know, the case managers in Cali, personality-wise, are very different than the case managers I have in the East Coast, just
Right,
like
yeah.
Florida. And that's the struggle of being able to supervise and manage. It's like when I was a teacher. Back in the day, I used to be a teacher, right? I don't know, it was like an old career of mine. I loved it. But a good teacher, you always have to know who you're sitting in front of and how to talk to them without talking down to them.
Absolutely.
So I work really hard on that with our case managers. They're all experienced. All my people are minimum 7 to 10 years. Most are 20 years, right?
Wow.
So I can't tell them what to do because they've been there, but I can be a peer. And I can hold their hand and walk together
Yeah.
with them on the same level. And that's something that we do with all the case managers, no whether they're from. They might not be used to doing it our way, but we work together and kind of find that middle ground. But you have to take into consideration their personalities, their ages,
Wow.
their background, their
Yep.
regions that they live in, just
Yeah.
like with the injured workers and just like with adjusters
Yeah.
and employers. So that's why you can't be cookie cutter, because one size doesn't fit all. You've got to always modify how you're dealing with people.
Wow, that's that's very interesting. You have to know your audience. I always say that, right?
Absolutely.
When I used to work for the insurance business, I used to work for a broker and a carrier, and I had, I don't know, 50 clients under me that I had to support as a risk manager, and I always told people, so what that means to me is I have 50 directors, 50 HR directors, 50 executives, 50
Yep.
line leaders, and I need to change my hat every day. My approach cannot be one size fits all because they're not all the same. And you know very well that dealing with individuals who are CEOs and COOs and VPs and HR directors and VP, they're not the easiest people to work with. But once you know how to work around them and adapt to their style and adapt to their personality, and create that relationship, by default, you're going to create a really good line of communication and trust and the transparency. So I agree with you on the
That's the word. I was waiting for you to say it, trust.
yeah,
And we as case managers have to do that with the injured workers. That's key. You don't get anywhere
yeah,
unless there's trust. Same thing with our customers and everybody in the industry. There has to be relationship building.
yeah.
And I always talk to my marketers about that. Sometimes a deal might take 3 years, 4 years, because that trust has to build. And by the way, kudos that you were a broker. I think brokers are like the unsung heroes in our industry. I don't understand why more case management companies don't market to brokers, because I had a revelation meeting with a broker who brought a client to meet with me in Vegas at Starbucks, right? The meeting place in Vegas.
Right, yeah.
And the broker ran the whole meeting. And I walked away thinking, wow, that's the power of a broker, because you guys are involved with the RFPs. You guys have huge, long relationships with customers, way longer than they do with TPAs
Absolutely.
and vendors. So they look to you guys for advice and experts. So I really have a lot of respect for brokers and what you do, because you're within all those layers, navigating all the time.
Yeah, that is true. And everybody stay tuned for our next episode of how to deal with brokers, as Molly has mentioned. Because it's a good discussion, though, Molly. Trust me, it's a good discussion.
Be nice to your broker. That's the subject.
And I know exactly what you mean, because I felt the same way when I worked with this broker, and I was like, whoa, to be able to rub shoulders with some of these consultants who've been doing it for 25 years, 30 years. And I'm like, man, that's where I really, really learned a lot. But anyhow, folks, we're speaking with Mollie Kallen from MKCM. So not only showing us case management the right way, but also how to be effective, how to change your approach. It's not one size fits all. And this is why I believe that MKCM, it's separates, and that's what identifies them as a very special and hands-on firm, because they genuinely care for the client and bringing ROI and trust and transparency. So Mollie, great job with creating this organization and your team under you. I know it's a lot of people to deal with. Now you're not only national, but you're international. So you're doing great things. And for those that are wondering, well, exactly what is it that Mollie and their firm, provide? Well, there's a list of medical case management resources on your website. I'm just going to read a few. You have, 24/7, 365 days per year case management. You have short and long-term disability case management. You had task assignments and medical chart file review and expert witness testimony, life care plans, medical cost projections, and much, much, much more, Mollie. This is not just one service. You have like a line of product items that are amazing. So any company that wants to come to you, any company that has its needs, Mollie, I believe, has been very open with us this morning today and been very transparent. The fact that, hey, I want you to see the benefits of this. I want you to get ROI. I want to establish a relationship with you. I have experts and professionals waiting on the line to speak with you, to support you. 365, 24/7, a year. Mollie, that is amazing, because some people say, no, I'm on vacation, or call the 1-800 hotline, or we're not here, leave a message, right? So so that differentiates you, Mollie, from a lot of case management firms, that you guys are always available and accessible. Am I correct?
Yeah, and so here's, and thank you for sharing that menu. We've added 2 new programs, by the way, as well. Or I have to update the website. Early intervention, which is we'll do free file reviews for a file that happens in the first 30, 45 days. We'll pull it apart and then give recommendations for free. So it's a free file review. And the other thing we're doing is for QMEs, living in California, how the doctors now are charging more for reviewing medical records for QMEs. And instead of employers and adjusters handing over like huge stacks of medical records to your attorney, who will charge you a lot more than we will, and who might not know what the doctors need to see, we'll do that service and do it quickly and timeline it. But I want to emphasize something on that menu of services. I kind of believe in staying in my lane. I think it's really important. I've been approached to do DMEs, to do all this other kind of stuff. And I believe to stay in your lane because I want to be a master of what I do and do it really well and not overpromise and still keep that boutiqueness, Adam, even though we're national, I want to stay boutique and making sure that our customers get the care that they need. And the 24/7, 365 is it. Listen, I've triaged cases at the grocery store on a Saturday morning. I've been on vacation. My team does too. I mean, because injuries happen 24/7 now, and people need to be accessible. And we, get catastrophic files. We're going to hospitals. So that's really important that they know that we're accessible.
Yeah, and I think that's probably an excellent selling tool as well, a resource, knowing that you're accessible and available. That's what a client, a customer wants to know. They want to hear, they want to feel the reassurance that you're always going to be there, just as you promised, as you market this. But I want to go back to what you said earlier, like, Adam, I wanted just to be me. I didn't think I was going to grow this big firm, but Mollie, I see that you have a marketing team, an intake team, a quality assurance team, an administrative processing team, a recruiting team. You're not small, my dear. This is a hierarchy of a big organization. And I want to ask you this: how important is this team for you? How important is this to have these pillars under you as a CEO and the company in general?
And immeasurable. And they always say it takes a village, but it's not empty words. It's true. I mean, and number one, all the people that I work with are like family. Yeah. I treat them like family. They are family. When they go through losses, when they go through gains in their personal lives, whatever. And the same thing with our case managers. We send cards, candles. It's so important to have that touch. But I treat everybody in my company as a family member. I have an amazing, amazing team. And my case managers, they're out in the trenches every day. Yeah. During COVID, we didn't stop a beat. We actually had a huge increase during COVID because we rolled out telehealth. But it's a partnership, right? And I don't have all the answers. And everybody knows who works with me that my door is always open. If you have a solution, if it's creative, if it's going to make jobs easier for anybody else, if it's going to make your job easier, if it's going to improve the quality of our company, I'm all for it. So I'm very open-minded. And that's really enabled us to grow organically in ways that I didn't even fathom. Wow. So my team, they know that I'm accessible and that there's no such thing as a bad question. When we're training people, what I love about my team is there's no boundaries. Everybody's cross-trained. Nobody says, this is my dance space, this is your dance space, I'm not going there. My marketing team will take referrals, in the car. I mean, we all work together, and that's why I'm so blessed, is that everybody works so cohesively and there's no ego. We're all for the betterment of the company, but betterment to help injured workers too.
That is amazing, and there's nothing better than treating your employees as family, because that you cannot put a price into how much value they bring to a company, especially to you, like you just described. I know one of your staff members' name is George Loaiza, and I'm sure based on the caliber of person that he is and what I've known to working with him in the past, I'm sure that all your team under each of these departments and teams, there's just professionals and they're go-getters, and they have made a difference for you. So again, congratulations on building this beautiful organization, Mollie, this great team under you, the pillars that hold you in the MKCM. And people, we've been speaking with Mollie Kallen, CEO and President of MKCM Inc. It's a national and international case management firm with claim solutions and insurance solutions. And she's a speaker and presenter, and now a great friend of mine and a great friend of all people in LinkedIn, and great, doing amazing things. So if anybody listening or watching this episode wants to get a hold of Mollie, here's the information on the screen, but I'm going to share it with you as well. It's Mollie, MOLLIE, at mkcminc.com. The phone number to call and reach her in her office is area code 954-347-5016. And their website is www.mkcminc.com. Again,
and by the way, Adam, that's my cell phone number. So if anybody wants to reach me, feel free, because I'm all about being accessible.
Well, you know
So
what? It doesn't get more personal than that. This is Mollie's personal cell phone number, and it's going to be on your screen. And visit their website. Let me tell you, this website, it has an amazing information. You can meet her team, look at the resources they offer, look at all the support they offer, read Mollie's biography. There's a lot of information, Mollie, and I think it's great. So, again, Mollie, I want to thank you for your time. I've been wanting to have you on the show for
thank
a
you.
long time. Technology is not our best friend at times, and I wanted to make sure it was done right. And I think that this conversation is so valuable. You have brought insights, into the whole case management world, when it's done right, what the expectation is, how to be effective, what kind of team to have behind you, the approach to take, the type of follow-up and support that the clients need. This is all great stuff. And I was serious when I said this. We need to have a follow-up episode to discuss even more of what you're
I
doing
would
out
love
there.
to.
We
There's so much
can
about the actual industry of case management that we didn't touch upon. I'd love to do that, Adam.
correct. We can talk about the different type of cases, your approach, the outcome,
Yeah,
obviously keeping client information confidential, but just sharing the experiences and in the challenges and the pros, because even with COVID, I'm sure you have to make some changes, right?
that's
I
absolutely.
just had a couple of attorneys in another episode that everything was done now virtually, even hearings, even trials, even I'm thinking, how was that effective, right? So that's even more to come. So Mollie, do you have any last words of just encouragement or wisdom you want to share with everybody who's going to
Yeah, well,
listen
first of
and
all,
watch this?
thank you so much, Adam, for this opportunity and for everything that you're doing to promote people in the industry. I think it's fabulous. And nothing but respect back at you for everything that you do. If I had to have some last words, kindness.
Mm,
I think that's important in any industry, and especially working with injured workers. Empowerment, not only with the injured workers, but the people who are working with you, making them feel important, hearing their input and decisions. And I guess lastly would be legacy.
mm,
That, again, that concept keeps coming up with me, making sure that you're leaving a footprint and that it's a positive footprint and that you're allowing other people, you're bringing people up with you. I think that's just so important. So, and again, I'm just so happy and blessed that I'm in an industry that I love. I have a passion for what I do. No day is the same. Some days I'm wearing a firefighter hat and I'm putting out fires all day long.
absolutely.
Other days, but it's so gratifying that we're making a difference in the lives of injured workers. Whenever I
Mm.
speak, the first thing I do is thank people in the audience, Adam, because I don't think people get recognized enough for the work that we do. We're making a huge difference to people in their daily lives. And we can't lose sight of that. It's really, really important to focus on that.
Oh, that is great. So there we have it, folks. We heard it straight from Mollie. Kindness, legacy, leave your footprint. This amazing last words of encouragement from Mollie. So thank you so much, Mollie. It was great to have you in the program.
Pleasure.
I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to share this information with the world, with every social media platform, and continue to have this conversation in the near future again. So thank you so much. You've been watching another episode of A Candid Conversation with Adam Lopez. I am your host, like always, Adam. I encourage you to please continue supporting and watching this podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's going to be more and more amazing interviews coming. And thank you so much for your support. Make it a great day. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
This episode is sponsored in part by Total